Hello. In this video, we are going to be talking about meeting the demands of academic writing, which is in your textbook if you want to read that chapter. It is actually chapter 2. I've had this book for a while, so I wanted to double check. So yes, chapter 2, meeting the demands of academic writing. This isn't necessarily all of this is not necessarily going to apply to this first essay, because the first essay is a personal narrative. So it's going to be, the first essay is a personal story about you, but this will apply to pretty much every other essay that you're going to write in this class and moving forward in your college career. So in academic writing, one of the things to remember is that reading and writing are active processes that you have to engage in. So when you're reading something, you should be annotating, taking notes. It should be an active process. Similarly with writing, there should be some research happening if you're making an argument or a research essay. And you should be aware that you are entering into a larger conversation. This is like you're going to a party. You're at this party and you see some people you know, like a group of 3 or 4 people, and you walk up to them and they greet you, but they keep talking about whatever it is they're talking about. And so you listen for a while until you have enough information about what they're talking about to put in your own 2 cents. That's similar to what we're doing with these essays. You're entering into this larger conversation that you've maybe come in on the middle of. And to that point, you shouldn't be hostile or combative to your reader, or to other people who have ideas that are different than yours. Also with academic writing, you're expected to say what you think. For the most part, professors want to hear what you think. They don't want to hear what somebody else thinks. They don't want to hear what AI thinks. Usually when you're asked to analyze something, there isn't necessarily a right or wrong answer. Instead, you should talk about what you think about certain elements and provide evidence and support for why you think the way you do. So if you just say, I always use the global warming example. If you just say that global warming is real, who is you, right? That your audience doesn't know you at all. So you have to provide evidence from experts in the field in order to support you thinking the way that you do. You're expected to explicitly state your point. In other words, don't beat around the bush. This is where the thesis statement comes in. We will talk about thesis statements next week, I believe. Yes, we will talk about thesis statements next week. You won't have a thesis statement with the narrative essay, but in all other essays you will. Your essay should immediately jump into the point, into what you're going to be talking about for the next few paragraphs. You do need an introduction, but remember you're talking about one specific topic, not showing off how much you know. So your introduction is specifically to set the scene for your reader and to tell them essentially what your essay is going to be about. But yeah, don't beat around the bush. Explicitly state your point. Qualify your statements. I am an always and never kind of person. I like to say, like, my husband never does the dishes, that kind of thing. But in writing, especially formal academic writing, we want to avoid using absolutes like always, never. Things are very, very rarely so black and white in the greater world, especially in academia and literature. So we want to say things like often or frequently or rarely. We don't want to say always, never. Just qualify it. It's okay. Moving on. There we go. So some basic writing do's and don'ts. Do use expressive language to engage your reader, the five senses. Remember, five senses: touch, taste, smell, sight, touch, taste, sight, smell, sound. So use words that evoke those five senses. Talk about how things looked, how they smelled, how they tasted, how they felt, that kind of thing. And always say what you mean. Don't hint at things or be vague. Draw the connections for your reader. Do not assume that your reader is going to draw the same connections as you. Draw them for the reader explicitly. Keep a civil tone with the reader. This goes back to what we were talking about with we don't want to be combative. Also, we also want to write to a general audience. So we want to be writing to someone, a general audience is considered like your peers. So when you're writing to a general audience, you want to write to someone who is educated, but maybe doesn't know all the ins and outs of specific thing that you're going to be talking about. So you may need to define some things, but for the most part, your audience is going to have a good general idea of everything you're talking about, unless you get super specific with like chemical engineering or something. Don't use any form of you, yourself, your, etc. Don't use slang or text speak, and don't talk down to your reader. Those are just some basic do's and don'ts that you can take into this narrative essay. So that is meeting the demands of academic writing. Writing is a form of communication, right? That's the whole point of writing, is to get a point across. So that's what you want to keep in mind when you start thinking about and putting things down on paper, is that you are, like I said, entering this larger conversation, and you are trying to present your ideas and your points of view in such a way that will make your reader listen to you. So yeah, that's meeting the demands of academic writing. If you have any questions about this, just let me know. Email me, or I also have my phone number. Just let me know if you have any questions. Thanks, guys.